All right. What? So anyway, this is the part I wasn't looking forward to, but you can actually like just see who's here, right? You know, to be honest with you, I mean, with everything that's going on, I'm gonna be like, I mean, I'm gonna take attendance, but I'm not gonna make it a big deal, okay? I mean, I don't know, it's probably not exactly the rubric you're looking for in that regard. But, you know, but, you know, I just want to see who's really here more than anything. And, you know, we'll have to kind of play it by ear. There was another class, by the way, that had I guess had a breakthrough COVID case. And then the professor just told Steve Miller that, I don't know who it was, but she woke up this morning with a fever. So, you know, these things happen, right? So, all right. So you got, this is section 1. And then there's actually a section 2. We'll be teaching the same things. So. All right. But we're going to only be meeting once a week, and we're going to treat this as like a once a week class. I'll explain why. So, all right. Let's see here. We got Vi is here. Hi, Vi. How are you doing? Sure, I got you. Sorry, this is section 2. It feels as like a section 1. It's not. All right. And Allie is here. Hi, Allie. And Dana's here. How you doing, Dana? And Alexia, here we are. All right. You just signed up, or? Yeah, I don't have you on my roster. That's why I was asking. Okay. And let's see, Lucas, Lucas, and Colleen. Hey, Colleen. You're right there. I'm awkward. Let's get that right out of the way first. My daughter rolls her freaking eyes. She does that okay boomer thing, even though I told her I'm Gen X. Dude, I'm Nirvana. What the hell? Biggie Smalls. God, I sound like a boomer right now. All right. All right, so welcome. Digital news reporting. I just kind of shortcut it and say that. Okay. Really, again, I'm really glad to have everybody back. This is probably the last class you're starting, right? Because you guys have already had a whole week, right? So now, first of all, I have an issue with like mumbling sometimes and talking fast. And I have a mask on. So, you know, if you don't understand what I'm saying, feel free to say so. Okay. Can you hear me okay now? So anyway, this is the class I've been teaching for a few years. I've actually been teaching for, this is actually my 18th year. I'm a part-time lecturer, so I actually have a full-time job. At the same time, I'm the managing editor of Best Review, which is an insurance trade publication. And I'm Tom Davis. And I'm actually, first of all, just to give you a little background on me, I am a Rutgers graduate in 1989. And I was the target the whole time. And like I say, I got my graduate degree in the School of Hard Knocks. I eventually did get into Columbia University, but I like to say that the practical experience I got was actually a better education. So, so anyway, as you can tell, I also have a full-time job, so sometimes I'd like overlap a little bit, even though I don't mean it to. But anyway, um, yeah, I used to actually, this class used to be at 8 o'clock, so it was a little bit out of the So sometimes I may be running into situations where maybe like call it some emergency or something like that, and I'll let you know if that's like something that will lead me to cancel class or whatever. So my last job, I was New Jersey editor of Patch.com. How many people have heard of Patch? Wow, 4. So anyway, yeah, I actually kind of something like that, but I kind of helped get that whole thing started, and I guess that's what led to this whole thing about me being this digital guy. I can actually translate the whole idea of like what it takes to run a news operation completely digital and basically try to teach it at the same time. So yeah, we basically started up this whole thing like, well, actually it's started about 13 years ago, but we really ramped up 11 years ago, and we started all these news sites all over the country. We had like something like 100 in New Jersey, and the kinds of things like what happened last week in the flood, that would be the kind of stuff that we'd be very much involved in, okay? Because I don't work there anymore, so. So anyway, but yeah, so what I try to do is, one thing I should tell you about this class is that, I should tell you that there's actually a lot of people who leave this class disappointed, because so I'm gonna kind of lower expectations for you right off the bat. Here's why. I've had a number of people come through this class who, to be honest with you, think they're going to become the next Martin Scorsese. Well, that's not really what we do here. I had one student, right? She would sit here and say like, "Why are we not doing movies?" I was like, I think that's actually the right quote. This is not a movie class. It's not a movie making class. I think some people, when they see the name, they see maybe a little bit of the description, they might think like, "Oh my goodness, this is where I'm going to become the next, film auteur or something like that." It's not about that. It's actually really about just some of the things I just talked about. It's about, being a journalist in the digital age, and what do you need to do that? Okay, that's all. All right. What I try to do is try to teach you not necessarily the best way to do things and to get by and to succeed in this profession in the digital age is using what I call the 5 tools of digital journalism. Okay. And just so you know, we'll get into this, but those 5 tools are reporting, okay, editing, which is really self-editing, okay, photography, video, and graphics, okay. All right. With that, I mean, we just basically, what I try to teach you is basically not just the best way, but also the easiest way and the most practical way of using those tools on your job. Okay. And the thing is though, is what I like, for instance, when we talk about video in this class, I don't necessarily, evaluate you for your, video skills. Again, comparing them to like the great filmmakers of time, or even documentary filmmakers or anything like that. But we talk about how to make a video on the fly. When you need to do it fast, when you need to get it up on the news site, you need to get it out there. Okay. This right here. Hello. This right here is the most important tool you can have. Everybody has one of these. Right? Sometimes I'm almost like being sarcastic myself. Okay? So, I was teaching here when there were flip phones. So, all right. So yeah, this is actually, I mean, that's where you can do your video recordings. You can do your interviewing, the whole thing just by learning how to use that tool effectively. Okay. I'll be honest with you too, is that also digital news reporting, almost a bit of an oxymoron. Not oxymoron, sorry, it's redundant. Okay, because actually all news is actually digital now. Okay, I think the idea here was they wanted to kind of, make sure that we had like we're updated we were modern, So, okay. Yes, we have desktops here. Anybody a fan of The Office? Yeah, it's Thunder Miff on here. Whatever. You probably all have laptops, right? You all have like actually, this is a question I should ask you guys right away because this place, actually, this is the first time I've been teaching this for a year and a half at least, right? Yeah, and from what I was seeing, I don't think they're really any different in terms of equipment or anything like that, but they are really severely lacking in things like putting together videos and stuff like that. So, you all have like laptops that have that kind of capability, or? But then, I mean, obviously, Apple Mac, you can do that. So, okay. Well, that'll be useful. So that's good. So, all right. So, Lucas, do you? I didn't see you nod your head, but it's okay if you don't. So. Okay, yeah. Because like what I've done in the past, if somebody doesn't really have that capability, just kind of share it, So, sharing is difficult in this age. Right? All right. All right. So I'm just going to go over some of the basics here of the class. Okay. First. All right. So anyway, so again, the idea here is that we learn, how to be a digital journalist and to use those 5 tools that just described, okay, in a practical way, an efficient way, okay. I am a bit old school in terms of like how I organize the class, I have to admit. All right, so I have I'm on campus, obviously, just like everybody else, right? I actually just moved off Sakai, this like 2 years ago. So, but pretty much everything we do in this class is pretty much the hub is Canvas, okay, in terms of like assignments we have to do, okay. Any kind of like, announcements, all right. And then of course I use the email system, obviously that's provided through Sakai. What I do is I get a little redundant on that too, but I do that just to make sure you get the message, right? If I have an email, if I have a message I want to get out to you guys, okay, I'll probably send it both through Sakai and through my email, okay, just make sure you got it, all right. All right, and then let's see. Yes, nobody tried to come here last week, right? Yeah, other than me. Yeah, that was funny. I mean, if I was on my old patch job, I would have known right away because it's the kind of stuff we would do. But I was literally sitting in traffic on Route 18. Like, what's going on? Like, oh, Rutgers traffic. That's typical. I was just sitting there like it was like no big deal. Not realizing the whole freaking city was shut down. What the hell? Yeah. Oh yeah, digital media guy. Yeah, sure. Anyway, all I needed to do was look at my email. Okay. All right, so basically some things here, okay. In this course, we developed a strong foundation in digital media production for diverse forms of media, okay. So I talk about those 5 tools, but we apply them to things like, obviously, the news story, things like, not just that, but also news releases, that sort of thing, that form of writing is actually considered part of the media, part of journalism, okay. And then we try to do some of this long form journalism and a little bit of a broadcast news mentality. To be honest with you, there's so much what they call cross pollination right now, where like so many of those different platforms are used. Whether it's a print newspaper, or it's a TV outlet, or public relations firm, they all do the same thing. Okay, they all write a story the same way. Okay, they do videos essentially the same way. Okay, you do graphics the same way. Okay, photography the same way. Okay, all right. All right. In fact, in a lot of ways, like print media is actually ahead of other places. You ever check like TV news websites? They suck. They just kind of generally suck. I'm not talking about like 60 Minutes or something like that, but I'm talking about like, just figure, WNBC TV channel 4 or something like that. All right. All right, so what's on this Canvas site? Okay, so the way I have things organized, okay. All right, is we have again the announcements, and you guys have heard from me already, okay. And what I'll try to do is I'm really gonna just try to teach to you guys. Okay, so you're gonna be done with the same material as section 1, with whom I'll meet on Mondays, okay? You know what's funny? I totally forgot about that whole thing with the classes on holidays to 7 days. But that was funny. I had people writing to me yesterday saying, "We have class today?" I was like, "Oh my God, they did that again. I didn't even know." Duh. All right, so I'll pay better attention to that in the future. Okay, just so you know. All right. Anyway, you can see I had some announcements from last week. I mean, what I'm gonna try to do is I'll make sure that, like, if I get in every message, I'll say, I probably should have said it right there, but I'll make sure that like with the assignment, I just put it on an assignment, which I'll explain in a little bit, but I'll try to address either section 1, section 2, or both. I think it's obviously something that applies to both sections. I'll write sections 1 and 2. If it just applies to one section, I'll write section 2. So I'm gonna try to treat this as like an independent class, just using the same material as the Monday class, okay? All right, just so you know. All right. All right. All right. So let's see here. Yeah, I have the assignments are, this is by the, I should put this on the student view. I'm sorry. I was having this on the teacher view. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. So there's your student view. And there's your announcements. Okay. And actually, by the way, there's like old announcements from old previous classes here. You can certainly ignore. Okay. Just look at yours that begin on September 2nd. Okay. Already got that. All right. Let's see here. This is something I've been bad about in the past. I will post your grades, okay, here. But I also like to let you know personally. So and send you back obviously the an evaluation of some sort, and basically on the paper itself. I'm very old school that way. I grade papers, and I'll get into this too, basically by marking them, with the track changes function on Microsoft Word. Okay, so you'll have that. All right. The syllabus obviously is, you have a paper copy, but it's also posted here. And then the modules, actually, what that does is actually it provides you a guide of what's going on, okay, each week. Now, as you can see, this is probably, I think this is okay. So we have the course introduction today. We'll start, but I tried to provide some sort of general overview of what's going on. Hey, how you doing? You are weak. Okay. How you doing? Is that actually? Can you write your? I have people for their name and their email address. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay. All right. So if you want to look ahead and see what we're going to be doing each week, this is essentially what we're going to be doing. Course introduction. Okay. It's a review of the syllabus. Accessing Canvas in order to access class materials, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then, I actually basically, I essentially view things, there's gonna be overlap, okay? Sometimes we even run a little bit behind, okay? So that maybe I'll change some of these topics each, as we move along. This is what we talk about next week, essentially the digital basics, okay? We'll get into a little bit of that today, but we'll get more into it next week, okay? Maybe have any questions about Canvas or anything like that, or Of course, this is actually where you'll be following your assignments under assignments, okay? And as you can see, there's actually one listed here, okay? All right. All right. You know what's funny is that the I'm not sure why, but on the paper syllabus I handed out, the COVID notice came out like hieroglyph. How do you say that? Hieroglyphics, graphics. Yeah. Anyway, it came out in like some other language that I don't understand, so I apologize for that. But the whole COVID notice, and then we'll go over that actually right now, is actually on Canvas. Okay. So let's just talk about that because that's obviously important. Okay. All right. All right. So as it says there, while there are a lot of returns to normalcy, there actually normality. There are continuing challenges facing all of us. Stressful time, obviously. Okay. You know, I tried to be. I've been teaching asynchronous classes since May of 2020. You know, so this is obviously big change. Okay, for me, it shouldn't be, but it is for me and other people. So so things are going to happen. You know, I have a situation where somebody might even get COVID or something like that. Okay, and then we have to deal with it. Okay, and to be honest with you, you've probably seen this already. Rutgers is not totally sure how to deal with this. Okay, but anyway, but it's not just the issue of actually maybe possibly contracting this disease. Okay, which I don't want to get depressing here, but we know that it's still out there. Okay. So anyway, just make sure that you keep, it says here, and you communicate with me, but it's not just about the disease, it's also about just the challenges we face, okay? You might have situations like my father, okay, he got COVID. He was a breakthrough case, okay? Or I haven't had any contact with him, so, but anyway, there's things like that. Luckily, he was, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm not going to get into politics here about this, but just looking at this from my point of view, he was double vaccinated, so he stayed out of the hospital, which is good for a man who's been in and out of the hospital for the last year. 86 years old. Okay, so yeah, so thank God for that. But anyway, just make sure that we communicate. If you have issues, maybe like with your family, with you personally, or something. Okay, we are required to be masked up in this class, so we're safe. We're also required to be vaccinated, from I understand, so we should be safe. As it says here, I'm obviously happy to consider making adjustments based on the situation. I've been doing that already. As you see, I have some rudimentary video here I will have, but I mean, obviously I would rather have people in class. I don't want to really be a situation like I've been dealing with my kids and everything, where they had essentially a remote option, and they just didn't show up here in class at all. They just basically said, screw it, So it is really best to teach this way. Okay, that's what I believe. Okay, so but just make sure we just stay in communication, because there might be a situation where I might have to go online. All right. Make sure you read all this. Obviously, like I said, it's on the first page of the Canvas. Okay. I have the Canvas. I'm sorry, I have the mask requirements up here. Just one sec. One sec. Okay. All right. You have the guide to returning to Rutgers there, PDF. I mean, this is some of the stuff you should be aware of. Obviously, if you get sick, you shouldn't come to class. Okay. If I get sick, I will definitely not have class. So don't worry about that. Actually haven't had anything, which is lucky me, right? Um, and I'm doing the best to stay healthy for you. I mean, I'm even running 5 miles a day, so nothing will happen. But I'm 54 years old, so I'm probably edging toward that higher risk group. So, all right. Obviously, so what if a classmate tests positive? All right. Well, if it appears there's a COVID problem, I will contact Steve Miller down the end of the hall, and also the Rutgers Occupational Health for guidance. I'm ready to put class online for a period of time if I need to. Okay. So I will be flexible, obviously empathetic and communicative. Okay. Get my word. All right. Do you have any questions about that? Okay. Yeah, I've been. I also understand there's like things that may come up, like you see me standing around here a lot and everything. I mean, I understand that you might be a little bit like wary if people like interact a lot and stuff like that. But if you have an issue with that, let me know. I actually plan to do something later on this class. It's kind of group activity-ish. So so if you have any issue with that, just let me know. I'm not offended by that, okay? All right. Let's see. So let's go to the syllabus, which actually just kind of repeats a lot of what I just said. That's my email, okay? And the syllabus on on Canvas actually has the same COVID guidelines I just showed you before. Okay, again, so you might have heard it actually, this class is actually, they tell me like this class is supposed to resemble a lot of what we do essentially in writing for media. Well, to be honest with you, I don't think that's the right thing. I mean, I think that actually it does mirror a bit of the stuff that you do in writing for media. So you might find some redundancy, okay? And everybody had writing for media, right? Okay. So, I mean, that is actually supposed to be the start at the beginner's course, I guess, in writing. And the thing about the news writing, and the thing about that is that this is what I tell my writing for media class, is that I totally get that news writing, as you've experienced already, is different from what you've been doing probably all your lives. Okay. That's why actually, and I mentioned this in the syllabus, that I actually count the last assignments more than the first assignments. I also understand. I have to be careful what I say, but this is not your fault. Remember that movie, Good Will Hunting? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. But I see some students come out of writing for media, and I'm like, oh God, I had one student who said like, oh, I had this student who had a professor with a weird hat. And the whole time he just talked about himself. He gave us one assignment. I'm like, oh, great. So I understand that's a situation, okay? There's varying like skill levels coming out based on kind of educational experience you've had. It's not your fault, okay? So I try to take that into account, what we teach here. Yes, I try to teach the 5 tools and how they apply, the different digital platforms, okay? But at the same time, this also is supposed to be a writing course, okay? And I'm supposed to place emphasis on your actual writing ability, okay? So we do a bit of mirroring what you did in writing for media, okay? All right, it's not too much, but we do that, okay? And actually my first assignment will be essentially, reflect that, okay? All right. Okay, so I mean, obviously, so it's going to build the build your skill set in writing, photography, editing, graphics, and video. But obviously the basic rules of digital media production, some of which I've already discussed with you. Okay, the 5 tools. Okay. I mean, now the deal is that you may have seen some old movies. Maybe you were forced to like watch movies with bad clothing, you know, like all the president's men and all that stuff, you know, the 70s, you know, great time. So, but you know, there's like no computers around or anything like that, you know, or like, you hear that was like kind of like a lot of people think the golden age of journalism and stuff like that, but now actually you're expected to do like all these things. You're expected to do not just the reporting, right? You're supposed to actually essentially be with not just a reporter but a producer, okay, a digital media producer. That's actually a title they give a lot of the reporters and journalists nowadays, okay? So that's the idea of this class, is to what would you do as a digital media producer for a news publication, okay? All right. All right, so let's see what else here. We got identify and analyze characteristics and styles of forms of digital media. That's what we do here. Research, write, you know, for diverse platforms, okay? I know I mentioned blog. Does anybody really blog anymore? Produce, I actually have a website that I actually post to. It's actually kind of a rudimentary website. It's not like the classic high-tech website, but it basically what it does is it gives you an idea what the kinds of things people do now when they work for a news publication and they produce this digital media content. And that's another term they use now, is they don't necessarily call them articles anymore. They call them content, okay? All right, we talk about things like the specific audience we're looking for, okay? All right, so let's see, students should be prepared, you know, participate in exercises during the majority of their time in the course. There will be online materials, assignments. I mean, some reading is not a lot, there's no book, okay? Obviously lectures, websites, okay, it'll also be group activities. We'll do the best we can with that, right? Yes, and obviously you should have a functional internet, smartphone, computer, or laptop, you know, with functional components, including video making. Should also be used for this course. And you told me you did have that, okay? And then you should access the campus course at least 3 times a week. That's really recommended, but it is daily. All right. All right, so here's how the class is broken down. Again, I know this is a little bit of a different situation because, you know, I'm used to my saying class participation. Obviously, it means a little more than this. That would be nice though, but that's good. Okay, it's fine because we're kind of new, and a lot of you. I mean, are you mostly like sophomores and juniors? Juniors, okay. So you had to deal with all last year and everything, so it's, you know, it's new for you too to go back to this. Okay, so I understand that like doing this might be a little more difficult than usual. Okay, but you know, it's not just that I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who are kind of like showing some kind of. To be honest with you, this is not anything scientific, but showing definitely like interest in the course, like asking questions if they want to know something, like something doesn't seem right, expressing concerns or whatever, you know, communicating, you know, that sort of thing. Okay, showing effort, you know, even in your assignments in general. Okay, whatever group activities you may have in class or exercises or whatever. Okay. All right. You know, the grading is really subjective, to be honest with you, but you know, it's something I don't really get into deeply until actually I hand back your first graded assignments. But I would say that basically, you know, an A grade is awarded to people who, you know, essentially have something that's publishable. And I'm not just talking about something that's in New York Times or something like that, but something that could be published in Patch or something. Okay, so something that makes sense, something that's coherent. A B plus or B is, you know, for an assignment that's basically in that area of an A, but maybe requires some editing, some minimal additional work to make it to that, you know, to get it to that level of being publishable. Okay. A C or C plus is something that I would view as, and again, I like to get into this more specific after you get your first grade, okay? But that's something more along the lines of like, you actually did the work, you made the efforts, okay? But there's something about it maybe that my three tenets of journalism again is accuracy, clarity, and focus. There's something about it, especially like the clarity and focus part, where maybe I'm like just not quite getting or understanding, but there's the effort is there, okay? All right. There's something about it that doesn't make it necessarily publishable or even maybe like clearly understandable, but you know, like I said, the effort is there. And then I typically don't give D's or F's, especially, I mean, I'm sorry. What I do is I have a first draft, okay, essentially, for everything. And what I do is I don't give a D or an F on the first draft, I give an R, okay? That's basically where I've come to the conclusion that you could have done more in terms of effort. You could have done more in terms of like making it clear, focused, okay? Maybe be issues with accuracy, okay? And to be honest with you, don't really take that personally because like I said, a lot of you may not have had like the most extensive education in this, okay? So, you know, I'll be honest with you, the first assignment I give out, first graded assignment I give out, I actually give out a bunch of R's a lot of times, okay? Just to kind of get people on track, okay? So you shouldn't take that necessarily personally, okay? I mean, I understand that's kind of like the nature of this business is like, wait, this is my beautiful work, you know, I get that, okay? But at the same time, I'm actually supposed to be kind of a team. So I'm the editor, you're the journalist, producer, okay? So we work together to get things right, okay? Yep. Yeah, I hate to use the word warning too, but you'd be kind of like that, yeah. What would be essentially redo. Maybe a better, kinder general word to quote a famous president. So this is what I used to do in the Burger and Record where I used to work too. I worked there for about 10 years. They would literally, the guy would look at me, he was like, he thought he was an artist. He would go, if he liked it, you know, and then he would, yeah, I'm not kidding. He would go, I was like, what are you, Picasso? You know, and you know, so then he would, but then if he didn't like it, he'd be like, "Come here, Tom. Let's do it over." You know, so it'd be kind of like that. You know, I know. You know, and I'm telling you, this field, this journalism field, is disorganized. You know, there ain't no rubric out there in the journalism world. It's even worse now than it used to be. In that sense, like you go in there and you're like, "Am I doing okay? Am I doing okay?" What's that? You know. But yeah, I mean, it's basically like even where I work right now, which is probably the most organized place I've ever worked at. It's kind of like that. You know, they're like, need a little bit more of this, you know. So anyway, R means that like you redo it, and then what I do is I give everybody a chance, everybody, including those who got R's, obviously, because actually they have to. People who get R's have to rewrite it. But if you get anything lower than an A, you can rewrite it too. Have I got that? If you get an A, you don't have to rewrite it. There's some confusion about that in the past. Like I might make some, I give you an A, I might make some comments, and then like they'll actually redo it. You don't have to do that. We'll work in the other classes. You know, do something. You know, yeah. So anyway, so if you have a B, if you have a B plus, oh my God, you should definitely rewrite. Come on, you know, that's actually when I look at like effort. Okay, if somebody's not rewriting B pluses, oh my God, seriously, you're not gonna go for an A, you know? So, yeah. So that's, I would say that's. So anyway, I, you know, actually, it's interesting. I always tell people that in terms of like being a journalist or a writer in general, you're really like the first go around, you're really like, the only time you're really actually a writer is when you actually first put things down on the paper. And after that, you're an editor, okay? And that's why I give everybody a shot at rewriting, because, you know, how many times have you actually written something and you go back to it like, you're almost like a different person, right? You go back to it like a week later or a day later or an hour later, you're like, oh my God, you know? Like give everybody an opportunity to look at it and say, oh my God, you know? All right. Oh, I'm taking a lot of time. All right, so what's next? Obviously, I talked about participation, okay? Just really you gotta show me the effort. Again, all assignments are submitted to Canvas. Okay, so yeah, here's my thing about it. The deadlines are like pretty huge, okay? Because obviously, like, my God, it's better that you submit a piece of crap, to be honest with you, as long as you get it on deadline, because at least the editor can work with it, right? But in digital media where everything's like 24/7, I mean, if you miss a deadline, what happens actually? Wow, the first time I've asked a class a question in a year and a half. This is weird. So what do you think happens when you miss a story? If you don't, let's say, okay, so the two biggest, I would say, business journalism outlets, which were the first two outlets to really kind of grasp this whole idea of going online 25 years ago and the importance of it. Bloomberg and Reuters, okay? They're business journalism outlets, okay? Let's say Reuters gets information, okay, on something, and they put it out 5 seconds later than Bloomberg, okay? Why is that bad for Reuters? Yeah, that's actually a good point. It looks like they're copying them, What does the reader think? You think? I mean, the reader like looks at Bloomberg coming in like 5 seconds. Let's say okay, let's say a minute. What does the reader think? Yeah, reliable, quicker, more bang for my buck. Because it's funny. Like I'm a big Mets fan. Yeah, talk about what stupidity. Anyway, sorry. Hey, I was kidding. I'm thinking about myself. I don't know if you're a Mets fan out there. Anyway, I actually have season tickets.
At least you're not Phillies.
Well, you're ahead of us right now. But that's okay. But who knows? The Mets lost last night. Anyway, I get alerts on the phone, and MLB.com comes out with the Mets score before ESPN does. So I'm like, oh, screw it, ESPN. So I mean, I get that kind of thing comes across. And just like, the ESPN is this annoying, like they do the da 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 thing, and I'm like, I'll be like in the middle of like a funeral. No, I'll be in the middle of like a wedding, and my wife will be like, and I'm like, oh, why is it even worth that? Because it's like they come out later than the other people do anyway. So those alerts are really important. That's really like the stuff that you get on your phone, okay? Because that's how people get their news nowadays, okay? So if you're like late, if you're late on that, that's not good, okay? And then yes, that's the whole thing, is that it's about trust and reliability and quickness, okay? Quickness also can work against an outlet because if they rush it, things can be wrong. So it's better to be right and fast, okay? All right. So that's why deadlines are important here. Now, I mean, I give leeway here. You actually will have, first drafts will not be accepted from. Anyway, I'll be giving you a deadline time. It's usually like 11:59 on a Monday or something, or a Thursday, or whatever, right? If they're not in by that time, then I give you like a 24-hour grace period, okay? But that 24-hour grace period, if it's submitted within that grace period, it gets a grade lower, okay? However, if it's more than 24 hours late, it's not accepted at all. It's an F, okay? So now, again, just going back to the COVID notice and everything, I realize things happen, so we just got to communicate, okay? Try to avoid the whole thing with, I love it when people say like, my great aunt from Alaska, twice removed, is sick. And I'm like, they always pick the person who's like way up the ancestry.com chain or something like that. But I tend to, I mean, I believe, I trust you guys, okay? So, you know, try not to abuse that whole process of making excuses and stuff like that, okay? All right, if I could ask that for, you know, all right. Obviously, there's an opportunity to appeal your grade if you feel like you've been wronged, okay? And then again, this is stuff that just reflects what's already on Canvas. All right, just the different subjects we'll be going over. Digital basics, basic news production, which, so this is a lot of the, this part right here is a lot of the kind of making of digital media. Really tight on the thing here. Hold on a second. Well, anyway, all right. No. Yeah, this. All right, that's about the making of it. Okay, and then the last half class kind of deals with the practical application of. Okay, obviously breaking news, the importance of digital media in terms of like, you know, using in public relations, okay, which is a huge component of digital media, okay, and then of course data journalism, which is the biggest thing, because the one thing that actually digital media does more than anything, really connected to the public, is in terms of producing data. And I say data, I'm not talking about this like crunching numbers all the time, but I mean, things like Yelp will list like the top 10 restaurants in New Brunswick or something like that. That's considered data journalism. It's very popular, okay? You know, it's also very popular, weather. Yes, weather, okay? So sometimes like there's a lot of data journalism involved in that because people love reading stories about like how much snow fell in my town, you know, or how much water, you know, filled into New Brunswick streets or something like that. The Rhine River really overflow into the, my God, holy crap. You guys have pretty much had to stay in your dorms or whatever. Not some of you may commute, I guess, or so. Oh God, I'm sorry. All right. Does anybody have any questions about that was the whole overview I gave you guys? Okay. Do we have any questions about any of that? Okay. All right. So the assignment I'm going to ask you guys was going to sound like nothing like digital media, but actually the idea here is that I want to see where you guys are at in terms of your essentially, oh, I'm looking at writing first, and that is your writing skill level, okay? So it's a bit of a weird assignment, and it's not graded, okay? So it's not graded. That's why I differentiated before. I said there's a first graded assignment, and then there's a first assignment. This is an ungraded assignment. What I'd like to do is get an idea where you're at in terms of the most basic form of journalism, and that's writing, okay? Because to be honest with you, I mean, I taught this class before, I've had varying skill levels, that sort of thing, that's again my default, but I kind of want to like get an idea where you guys are at, okay? And that actually helps. What I do is I take that knowledge that I get, that data, and I apply it to how I teach here. So I may actually spend more time on writing, for instance, if I feel like the class in general needs to boost that skill level, okay? So all I you to do actually is to just this. Please write a 5-paragraph story on yourself. And please write in the third person, interviewing yourself. Yeah, I know, weird. All you do is write a news story in the third person about yourself and emphasize what's unique, okay? Should have written that too, okay? Emphasize what's unique about yourself and write a 5-paragraph story. That means writing paragraphs in news writing only, typically only one or two sentences, okay? All right, everybody got that? If we can do that by Monday, I'd appreciate it, okay? Anyway, sorry about that. So, all right. Any questions on that? So yeah, that's on Canvas, and if you could just submit it on Canvas, I appreciate it. Not graded. What I do is I provide you some feedback on that to give you an idea like what I look for in this class in terms of writing, okay? All right, so what I do is actually kind of like This is actually something I do is actually what we do in the second class is actually I have you guys interview each other. But I want to kind of get an idea, like I want to get you guys get an idea. Maybe also as a way to break the ice, is to actually like talk to each other a little bit. If you have an issue with this, I understand. Okay, if you want to keep distance or whatever, but I'd like to actually like have you guys. And I like to do this maybe like 5 minutes at a time. I'd like you to ask, like to go up to each person, we'll rotate around and basically just ask them their name and the most interesting thing about them, okay? Yeah. And basically what I like to do is maybe just kind of write that down. And I'm actually curious to know if the answers might be different or something like that. All right. But the idea here is to kind of resemble digital media, trying to get the news fast and quick. All right. So if we could like maybe like you two want to keep a distance, that's fine. Maybe you two. Yeah. All right. So if maybe you three, maybe just get that, you know, get their name and get the most interesting thing about them, and then just write it down and spend about 5 minutes on that. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask for a switch and try to match up people different. Okay. All right. So we can do that. It's okay. All right. Let's try to do that. Thanks very much, guys. All right. You want to like extend the conversation, it's fine. So I'll keep tracking. I'll let you know on the switch. Okay.
Oh wow, that's really cool. I've never known. When did you do it? Yeah.
Hello. Oh.
So I signed up for writing from here,
Oh, really?
but it says that I'm supposed to be here in this room 14 minutes.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, Hank
today.
Howard. Does it have a date and time? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, Thursday
Oh
night
my God, that's-
in this room.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Did I call your name out before?
You said you didn't have me on your roster.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, I guess that's maybe just to get in touch with Hank Callett and you know. So, well, nice having you. Thanks very much. Sorry, go and hang around. You can. Yeah, sure.
But like the I'll leave you one. Yeah, that's cool, yeah, the same mobile. We from PC. Yeah. Is that kind of like 600? How is that far? Okay. Oh, that's cool. I'm from Northeast, Jersey too. I'm Green County. So I work right here in the plaza. I live like 2 blocks. Yeah, I work that plaza. But I would have went to heck. I would have went to heck. Yeah, I'm like 40.
Another minute.
I live in the suburbs, but it's near like city.
About, okay, so how about we switch stuff, okay? Maybe, figure name. Dan, how about you switch with, I'm sorry. Actually, how about you two switch? I should switch again. How about you two? Good. We'll stop it after that. And then we'll report the results. Yeah.
Let's see here. No one really knows that, so you know what. But usually when I sign ID, usually when I say sign letters, emails, to friends I don't know, I go, we don't use that. But that's, I'm yeah. I'm feeling that good. Yeah, no,
Lord Almighty God.
Okay, yeah, I look like a one. Yes. Oh. Like, my family looks terrible. No, we had like, we had like, we booked that one forever. And we had a lot of fun. It was good. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So. How are you doing? So that was our speedy exercise, and now I'm curious to know if there's like anything that you can learn that could be different, usual. Because this is actually, again, how we do digital media. We move fast, we move quickly, we get as much information as we can in a short period of time, but we also have to be efficient. I want to know a little bit more about you, instead of going around the room doing the same thing. We got a little more creative. Saying like, tell me your name and what do you want to do? What's your major? Well, you see, anyway, so we're not going to ask you for. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go across this list, and I just want to thank. Let's see, who did I say? Oh, Alex, Alexa. Alexa, I just want to thank you for sticking around for this. I appreciate it. So, all right, so I'm going to do is I'm going to basically identify each person in class and whoever interviewed that person to tell me a little bit about them. Okay. All right. Make sure you got their name spelled right too. Okay. That's important. All right. So Vi, who interviewed Vi? Okay. All right. So how do you spell Vi's name? VY. Very good. And what's up? Next. Yeah. Yeah.
Semi-fluent in 2 languages and fully fluent in 1.
Oh,
So together
good.
that means that's 2.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
See, the good thing about, what they'll be asking for is unique and everything. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who, I don't know, climbed Mount Everest, right? But how many people are like, semi-fluent? How many? Two.
Fluent in 1.
Ah, there you go. One additional. Oh, there you go. So 2 and 1 fluent. Okay. How many people can do that in this class? Thank you. So, so there you go. So basically, when you look for something unique in a person, and these stories you're gonna do on yourselves and everything, you don't have to set the bar up here, right? Put it down here, right? And this is maybe the kind of story you would do for somebody, again, maybe something on cash or something like that, or even like a Facebook announcement or something. Okay. Who else interviewed by? What else? Did you get the same thing?
Yeah, same thing. She's in South Jersey.
Okay. South Jersey. We're in South Jersey.
Deep South Jersey. Oh, farther than Cherryville.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so what you would do is you maybe would want to build a story with like 5 paragraphs long. There's 2 paragraphs right there, okay? All right, just 1 or 2 sentences right there. Probably focusing on this part right here. I mean, definitely focusing on this part right here, I would say. But maybe mentioning secondarily where the person's from, because it's not unusual to be from South Jersey. So, and they go to Rutgers University, okay? So very good. I'll have to do that, right? So, I'm kidding. All right, boy, I can't see. Allie, who did Allie? All right. So I'll spell it for you. Allie. Tell me a little bit about Allie. What's her situation? What makes her unique? Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, okay. No, that's fine. I'm using this, so it gives me an little exercise here. So from Philly, okay. You have the Philly suburbs in there. So, it's funny. There's always an argument of what's South Jersey, right? So, I'm from Point Pleasant, which could go both ways, you know. Whatever. What's that? Yeah. Yeah, 2 days ago, right? 2 hours ago. Yeah, it's funny because, like, I always say that I'm one of those people that believes there's a Central Jersey, right? And but I actually think there's a North Jersey, a Central Jersey, a South Jersey, and a Jersey Shore. Now, there's also also part of Jersey Shore is technically the South Jersey. I'll go that far, you know, but it's not from the Jersey Shore. And I never liked to say I was in North Jersey, Central Jersey, or South Jersey. But depending on who I was talking to, I would always say like, "Oh yeah, I'm from South Jersey," or "I'm from North Jersey." When I was here, they thought I was South Jersey. You know? No, I consider it both. I would say it over Ohio. No. There's an ocean there. Yeah, Ocean City, Atlantic City, that's all South Jersey. And then, but then it gets a little fuzzy. I would say Long Beach. I think Long Beach Islands. Yeah, but there are people down in Atlantic City who would say that's silly. I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it. I worked down there. I worked for the press of Atlantic City. And oh my God. Then I worked for the Bergen Record, which is at the north end. And they used to tell me, like, we think Newark is South Jersey. I was like, seriously? Yeah, I'm not kidding. And then there was this guy on my patch staff. Oh, here I go. And he was from Morris County, and he was a snob. And he used to make fun of people from South Jersey, you know, all the time and everything. So I got on his ass. I said that, well, you know, the Bergen Record, they considered Newark, South Jersey, which is kind of on the same parallel latitude, whatever you want to call it, as Morris County. So, Russ, you're actually from South Jersey, right? And he's so annoying. It was so great. You'd be like getting all defensive. I'm not from South Jersey. Anyway, so silly. Yeah, I lived in Delaware for a couple of years. I worked for the worst paper in America. The Delaware State News. I actually interviewed Joe Biden, senator, in 1992, right? And but they used to have this sound off column where they would publish stuff that people would say about Biden, which basically now is the internet, right? And they would just not attribute, and people accused him of like abusing his kids and stuff like that, you know, yeah. And they would just print it. This was like 1992, before the internet, right? And yeah, it was just sick. I like the Delaware beaches and everything. But anyway, Delaware used to be the same way. They considered the southern part lower, slower Delaware. Anyway, what else about LA can we say? Okay, cool. Semi-fluent? Almost fluent. There we go. Yeah.
A little rusty right now.
Gotcha. No problem. You know, that could be good too. I mean, obviously, When you get 3, that's a little more unique, right? But almost fluent, I probably would maybe want to get a little bit more because that's a little more common. I would probably say like, well, how does Ally like apply that practically? You know, is that something that she's speaking at home? Does she have a job that involves that or something like that? Is Rutgers stuff she does that, you know? So I'd probably try to get a little more information on that, you know? So, okay, cool. Very good. Very good. All right. Now I got, sorry, I'm not recognizing faces right away. Dana. Dana, all right. What can we tell me about Dana? Excellent. I like the musical instruments. Because again, how many of you can play guitar? Aha, see? I always found that I tried to learn an instrument for that as a joke. I couldn't do it. It was actually, I thought it was more complicated than piano. You know? So yeah, that's good. But I would probably ask another question that is, like, where does she play guitar? Is it at home? Does she do it? Is she in a band? That kind of thing. Who else interviewed Dana? Okay. Okay. So for that one, I would probably, maybe that's more secondary, I would say. Okay. But I mean, I'm not saying these details aren't unimportant. I'm just saying that maybe I would put it lower in the story or something like that, you know? You maybe, again, like the idea, whenever you want to, like, obviously we're going to talk about this, but hopefully awareness is ready for media, but you know, we're all about like getting the answers to the questions, who, what, where, how, why, when, right? In a journalism story. So, or production, as we're going to do in this class, right? So we want to like emphasize what's unique, but we also do want to find out the things like where they're from, you know, right? That's all part of the character sketch you try to develop, you know. Okay. And let's see, we also got Alexia, who is actually, again, generously sticking around with us. Who interviewed Alexia? Okay, cool. What can you tell me about Alexia? There you go. But that's okay. It's okay. It's not her fault. I saw her schedule. How did they do that? By the way, Hank is a good guy. If you need any help getting a hold of him and everything, I used to work with him at Patch and at the Princeton Packet 30 years ago. So, yeah, I think that the fact that she did this, you know, is actually the fact that she stuck around. Let's try to frame this positively because it's not always it bleeds, it leads, right? But being generous to stick around and help, that's great. So, I will make sure I'll let Hank know that. So, what else can you tell me about Alexia? Okay, I mean, these details are important. Let people know. That's what all times in spell soften work. You know, so you want to let people know like the class year. I mean, that's relevant because if you're a senior, you might want to like ask the question, what are they doing next year? You know, or something like that, you know. So, all right. How about Lucas? Who did Lucas? Okay. Oh, what did you learn about Lucas? I know that he doesn't use his real first name. There you go. What else did you learn? Yeah. Oh, you interviewed Lucas, right? Yeah. Okay. What did you learn about Lucas? Yeah, there you go. Say it again. Oh, okay.
But as they
Oh, is that what they do?
Lucas Memo.
I can see a lot of teachers doing that. Actually, I have to, did you notice I skipped that?
Yeah.
Because I saw your thing and I said, well, I'm not, you know, I know he wants to say Lucas because he put quotes around it, so.
Thank you.
No problem. Doesn't use first name because, yeah. What you just said. that could make fresh an interesting story, because also it's the Italian stereotype, right? So, which is actually, isn't it? Yeah, so. Okay. Okay, cool. Anything else? Anybody else? Have you?
Double major in poly.
Oh, nice. Good combo. It's been a while. You know, it could be an interesting thing because I hear they're like, didn't they stop doing double majors for a while and now they're starting up again or something? Yeah. That could be interesting because it's like, could be the additional question, what does he want to do? Is he doing writing? Is he involved in politics? Is he like, have interest in that direction, that sort of thing? So. Okay, cool. How about Colleen? Okay, tell me about Colleen.
Distantly related to Virginia.
No way. No way. Oh my God. Okay, we got a winner here. The most interesting story. Wow. Do you mind telling me how, like, how you related to Richard Nixon? It was like the first president I remember, actually. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Wow. Congratulations. You know what's interesting? Oh, I'm like a political leader. I watched All the President's Men recently, and I thought to myself, based on what's happened the last 4 years, I was like, wow, this wasn't so bad. Anyway, just kidding. Yeah, Nixon used to live in New Jersey. You probably know that. Yeah. In fact, God, that was the first president I remember. I was actually early to say I remember it was Watergate, you know, whole scandal. And but then he like went through this whole thing when he resigned. He became kind of like Winston Churchill in the United States. Retirement, he was the guy that he all consulted if they needed help on foreign policy. And then he would go down to Long Beach Island in South Jersey and kind of hang out. One time he stopped by the Burger King there in Manahawkin, and he signed a napkin for somebody and said, "To Burger King, home of the Whopper." And they actually had it framed for it 10 years. That was a big story in Manahawkin. Anyway, so that's a good one. What else do we know about Colleen other than she's related to Tricky Dick? You know, that wins. So that's good. Okay. How about Malik? What do we know about Malik? Oh my God. Actually, might have a winner here. Produces?
I think that's like.
Oh, listens to. Wow. Amazing. What do you do? That just for my pleasure or just?
Well, I'm not, so it helps me kind
Right.
And when I'm bored, I just like to listen to stuff.
Right.
You're doing such share of getting into
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think my daughter listens to some of that actually. You know, it was interesting. I'm gonna sound like a fool here. I was driving, my kid goes to Boston University. I know we should go. And on the way there, I was looking through he was driving, I was looking at my phone, and I said, "Hey, John, Kanye West dropped Donda." And then he went, "All right." He started driving really fast. I was like, "Oh my God, seriously?" You know, when I was a kid and the Clash dropped an album, I was like, "Oh, dude," you know. I mean, I might have probably gone to the record store like the next day. But yeah, that was that was interesting. And then of course we had to listen to Donna 3 times. But that's fine. Fine. All right, I heard her believe there twice. Yeah, I know. It's just like 26 songs, right? I know it's at least twice. Yeah, so, okay, great. So what we got here are like little bits and pieces, you know, that sort of thing, the kind of things that we would look for in terms of like themes, okay, and leads. And it's kind of stuff that I like you to do when you actually like write stories of yourself. Because you know, and you write this in third person, like you're interviewing yourself. It's like he, she, it. You don't write I. Okay, so you got that? First person's I. Third person's he, she, it. And I just, again, the idea, I just want to see where you're at. That's all. No judgment here in terms of like your ability or sort of thing. Just I'll give you an idea like what to look for. All right. If you have any questions about anything? Okay, well, guys, great job today. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. And let me know if you need anything, okay? Alexia, very good luck.